Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 270 based on novel. So let's start. Since you don't understand, then disappear with the void. The woman in the blue dress put down her left hand. The complex gaze in her eyes gradually disappeared. Wang Lin's pupils shrank as he felt a pressure descend upon him. Under this pressure, he found that the origin energy inside his body was actually obstructed. The black whirlwind roared around him and the two black dragons inside charged out at the lotus flower leaf. The dragons roared and blasted out cold wind. However, the lotus leaf didn't pause, it moved faster. The crack under Wang Lin's feet became bigger and cold wind rushed out of it. At this moment, the two black dragons collided with the leaf. There was a loud bang as one of the black dragon trembled and collapsed into black gas that was pushed back. The other dragon blasted out cold air that did nothing to the leaf. The leaf absorbed it all and revealed a hint of green light. As this green light spread, the pressure became even stronger. Even the black whirlwind disintegrated under this pressure. What kind of treasure is this? Wang Lin's eyes lit up, then he stretched open his arms and shouted, "Summon the rain." This was the first time Wang Lin had used the second spell he learned from Celestial Emperor Bai Fan. As he said these words, the origin energy of the world seemed to be getting churned by a pair of large hands and quickly gathered. A thin layer of water mist appeared before Wang Lin's body. His hand stretched out, and it was as if new life had been injected into the black mist. It immediately formed a vortex around Wang Lin and rotated rapidly. Drops of rain continued to form while origin energy from the world gathered within the black gas. A sliver of celestial origin energy came out from Wang Lin's body to communicate with the world. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of drops of rain formed in the black vortex around Wang Lin. Each drop contained a great amount of power. There was a strand of celestial spiritual energy within this vortex, which made Wang Lin look like a celestial. His arms were stretched out as he floated among the stars. The black wind around him rotated like crazy as drops of rain formed and floated around him. The raindrops were like crystals, they looked very gorgeous from afar. Just at this instant, Wang Lin waved his hand. With him as the center, the vortex trembled and spun in reverse. There was a thunderous rumble as it rose into the air. It looked like a 1,000 feet vortex was rising up into the air to connect with the heavens. The rumbling continued as the vortex pulled Wang Lin up. One could only catch a glimpse of Wang Lin's figure. As the vortex rose, the 10,000 drops of rain rushed out. They whistled through the air as if the earth had become the sky. The rain was born from the earth and then it went back up to the sky and then it died at the end of the sky. There were hints of thunder intent in Wang Lin's eyes, but he suppressed it. There was no need to expose his true cultivation here. The vortex and 10,000 drops of rain directly pressed down on the lotus flower leaf. The vortex first closed in on the lotus flower leaf, making it tremble. Then the 10,000 raindrops fell on the leaf. The sound of the raindrops hitting the leaf echoed and the leaf suddenly collapsed. The impact caused by the collapse of the leaf was scattered by the vortex and raindrops. The pressure on Wang Lin disappeared, then his hand formed a seal and he pointed at the woman in the blue dress. The vortex and raindrops formed by summoned the rain swept by Wang Lin and charged at the woman in the blue dress. Just at this moment, the black fiend devil saint, who was clearly losing against blood god and the blood person, quickly escaped. In a flash, he charged directly at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he retreated without hesitation. Although he was attempting to kill this woman, he wasn't really trying to kill her. He just had to make it look like he, Xu Mu, was making effort during this battle. Besides, with his previous achievement, everything else could be skipped over. As he retreated, coldness flashed in the eyes of woman in the blue dress. Her right hand pointed at the 7-leaf lotus flower, causing an illusory lotus to appear and completely block summon the rain. She looked at the battlefield. The alliance was currently in an unfavorable situation. However, she didn't panic, as she knew this wasn't the real battle. This was merely the prelude. Raising her jade-like hand, she formed a seal, pointed at the void, and softly said, please help, corpse prison realm." After she spoke, a giant, 50-kilometer-wide formation silently appeared in the void before her. This formation was hanging upside down and was rotating rapidly. Blackish-purple gas was pouring out of it, and a purple chain suddenly fell from inside the formation. There was an all-heaven cultivator below it that didn't dodge fast enough and was hit by the chain. His body immediately collapsed and his origin soul was trapped by the chain. From a distance, one could see that the cultivator's origin soul seemed to be stuck to the chain. No matter how much he struggled, he couldn't escape. Another chain came out from the formation and dangled there. One by one, the chains fell, and after only a few moments, there were over 100 chains sweeping the area. Just at this moment, a muffled roar came from the formation. This sound was filled with the feeling of being torn apart. When you heard it, it was as if your origin soul was being torn apart. A person walked out from the formation. The moment the person walked out, the smell of rotting corpses filled the area. This person was 100 feet tall and completely purple. This wasn't a living creature, but a corpse. This corpse had large amounts of chains wrapped around it. The chains that were dangling earlier were the chains that were wrapped around his corpse. This corpse wasn't formed naturally but refined from countless remains with a spell. In the Alliance, it was referred to as refined corpse. This object was formed naturally by the corpse prison realm, with the corpse sect providing the corpse. Over the tens of thousands of years, there were only 18 made. Each corpse had cultivation equal to a late-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator. The first refined corpse that appeared shook the chains on its body and let out a roar. This roar could penetrate the body and directly affect the origin soul. As the refined corpse roared, it charged into a group of cultivators and waved its chains around. The chains became its most fierce treasures. As it swept across the area, it created a gust of wind. A large amount of cultivators were no match and were forced to retreat. At this moment, a second refined corpse walked out from the formation. While letting a roar, it charged into the battlefield. As the refined corpses walked out one by one, the situation on the battlefield began to reverse. This was especially true when the last 3 refined corpses walked out. They didn't emit a purple glow, 2 of them glowed silver and 1 of them glowed gold. The 2 silver refined corpses were a male and female. Although they had sluggish expressions, their bodies were the size of a normal person's body and they were wearing silver shirts. There were still chains around them, but only 2. The moment they appeared, they gave off the pressure of early-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivators. The last refined corpse couldn't even be described as a corpse. He was middle-aged and wore a dragon robe. He was like a mortal emperor. There weren't any chains around him, he only had 5 yellow talismans around his head. There were bursts of lightning that formed a close connection between the talismans. The aura of the 5 elements was coming from his body. The moment Wang Lin saw that man, he immediately thought of the 5 elements and the first time he encountered Red Butterfly. 5-element spirit body. Wang Lin retreated even faster. He knew that with his cultivation level, he couldn't play a big role in a big battle between 2 star systems. This was why he had acted with self-preservation as the goal from the beginning. If there was merit, he would take it. If there was none, then he would focus on staying alive. I don't know where senior brother Qing Shu is, but I believe he should be nearby. Wang Lin continued to retreat, but the woman in the blue dress had no intention of letting Wang Lin go. She pointed with her jade-like hand and an ordinary refined corpse stared at Wang Lin and chased after him. Wang Lin's expression became gloomy. If he was facing a mid-stage Nirvana Scryer with his current body and spells, he could win. However, when facing a late-stage Nirvana Scryer, he would have to use all his abilities for a chance at victory, and there were a lot of variables. However, it would be unwise to use all his abilities in this great battle. Also, if he was injured, he would immediately be in a dangerous situation. Wang Lin's plan was to find a chance during the chaos and enter the Moongazer Serpent unnoticed. Then he would take the opportunity to steal the power inheritance of the child ancient god. As he retreated, the refined corpse chased after him. The refined corpse swung its chains around, forcing open a path to Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness coming from Wang Lin's eyes as he moved closer to the Moongazer serpent. Muffled roars came from the Moongazer serpent. Wang Lin didn't believe that just these cultivators from the Alliance could trap the Moongazer serpent. Once the Moongazer serpent became angry, everything would collapse. This mere sealing formation couldn't seal the Moongazer serpent. A moment later, Wang Lin approached the black shell that trapped the Moongazer serpent. The Shengong family ancestor was leading cultivators to constantly attack the black shell. Wang Lin's approach didn't attract the attention of any of these people. The refined corpse continued to chase after Wang Lin and got closer and closer. It threw one of the chains around it after Wang Lin, and the sound of the chain whistling through the air entered Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin's eyes had a cold glint. He was very calm as he quickly backed up and touched the black shell sealing the Moongazer serpent. The moment he touched the shell, he released a sliver of his ancient god aura into it. Just at this instant, the Moongazer serpent inside the shell noticed the ancient god aura by instinct and became crazy. This roar from the Moongazer serpent was heaven shaking. The anger of the Moongazer serpent was like the finger of the ancient god. The more angry it was, the stronger this spell was. A thunderous rumble came from the shell and countless cracks appeared as if an unimaginable force was coming from within the shell. In an instant, the black shell collapsed. The moment it collapsed, a rough ancient god finger poked out. The Moongazer serpent used its incomparable spell in the northern region for the first time. This spell was triggered by its anger and allowed the cultivators here to feel its unimaginable strength. If some people were underestimating the Moongazer serpent before or didn't consider it enough of a threat, they threw all those ideas out of their minds when the seal collapsed. The only thing that remained was a shock from their souls. At this moment, a large amount of cracks appeared on the black shell around the Moongazer serpent. Countless fragments were sent whistling in all directions. The countless black shell fragments spread out with powerful impact. Some of the cultivators didn't dodge fast enough and were hit by the fragments. They coughed out blood and then their bodies collapsed. Not even their origin souls were able to escape. There were even several people that were hit by the edges of the fragments, and their bodies were immediately sliced in half. Blood mist filled the area, creating a shocking scene. All of this caused the surroundings to become silent for a moment, as if every single gaze was focused on this place. However, in this silence, a roar from ancient times came from within the black shell. Roar? This roar was infinitely close to the roar of an ancient god. It seemed to penetrate time itself, as if it had always been there. This roar was filled with endless force. The ancient god finger suddenly flew out. It was impossible to describe the might and spectacle of the ancient god finger. It could only be said that the world would collapse under that finger. No power could resist the power of this finger. Everything must perish under the power of that finger. The refined corpse pursing Wang Lin was dumbfounded. There was a brief moment of blankness in its mind, and it weighed consequences of facing the ancient god finger head-on. Boom! The moment the ancient god finger charged out, it landed on the refined corpse. As popping sounds echoed, the chains on the refined corpse all collapsed. Large amounts of black blood were pushed out from the back of its body due to this endless force. Its entire body seemed to have been pulled back and its purple skin immediately began to dissipate. In the blink of an eye, it was as if it had been skinned by someone. Following that, all of its bones and flesh crumbled and finally, the refined corpse exploded. Although this sequence of events sounds slow, it only took a few breaths of time. The ancient god finger didn't stop and mercilessly pressed forward. Wang Lin had already retreated a moment before. His eyes lit up, and as he looked, he felt as if there was an indomitable adult ancient god behind that finger. The adult ancient god's thick arm was pushing the finger forward in an endless wave of destruction. The Moongazer serpent's giant body followed after the ancient god finger and rushed out with its countless tentacles spread out. Large amounts of mist spread out from its oval body and its fierce eyes met Wang Lin's eyes. The moment their gazes met, Wang Lin felt something was wrong. This Moongazer serpent's eyes were extremely clear, without any trace of confusion. Wang Lin had a feeling that when he looked at the Moongazer serpent, it was looking back at him. The Moongazer serpent broke free and gave the All-Heaven cultivators a huge morale boost. This battle was full of twists and turns. Sometimes the Alliance held the upper hand and sometimes all heaven had the advantage. At this moment, the Moongazer serpent reappeared, and the pressure it gave off shook the stars. The ancient god finger didn't dissipate and continued to sweep forward at an extremely fast pace. All cultivators that were before it exploded and died before it even got close to them. Wang Lin had spent his life in slaughter, but the number of deaths that occurred during this war was far more than all the people he had killed. This was the first time Wang Lin had encountered a war like this. The battle between Planet Suzaku and the Forsaken Immortal clan was truly insignificant compared to this. The situation reversed. The ancient god finger whistled through space, and all the cultivators before it collapsed, not even able to slow it down. The ancient god finger swept toward Black Fiend Devil Saint. The expression of the Alliance's Black Fiend Devil Saint changed. As the ancient god finger closed in, he clenched his teeth and spat out a black mist while his hands formed a seal. The black mist immediately turned into a giant black crane. This black crane held a black leaf in its mouth. The moment it appeared, it dropped the leaf, and the leaf began to grow like crazy. In almost an instant, this leaf was more than 10,000 feet tall and spread to the sides, creating a barrier. The ancient god finger closed in and collided with the leaf. There were crackling sounds and then the leaf collapsed into strands of black gas. Black Fiend Devil Saint's face turned pale and he coughed out blood and retreated. However, his right hand reached toward the void and a wood carving appeared in his grasp. This wood carving was extremely strange. It was a person with folded arms surrounded by plants. It was impossible to see the face, as it was covered by plants. The moment the wood carving was taken out, Black Fiend Devil Saint threw it without hesitation. A black light that could devour all light came from the carving. It was as if the carving had come to life, and the plants began to move. The plants charged directly off the wood carving. As the plants charged off, 5 1,000-foot-long black flowers appeared from the void. These 5 black flowers gave off a strange aura. One of the flowers charged toward the ancient god finger. The center of the flower opened up like a mouth and spat out an extremely cold energy. The remaining 4 flowers opened their mouths and spat out large amounts of black gas. At the same time, the eyes of the wood carving shined red, making it seem to truly come alive. It opened its arms as if it was about to embrace something. It then rushed into the black gas and directly clung onto the ancient god finger. Black lines came from its body and immediately spread across the ancient god finger. Wang Lin saw this scene from the distance and revealed a sneer. If the ancient god finger could be broken so easily, then the All-Heaven cultivators wouldn't have spent so much effort to bring the Moongazer serpent here. This Moongazer serpent could be considered the most powerful weapon All-Heaven had prepared for this war. Wang Lin's gaze swept by and landed on the giant wood in the distance. I doubt charging forward is the only thing that wood can do. After standing on it for so long, I felt like there was something else inside. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind. The battle between the 2 star systems had endlessly broadened his horizons. All of this was very important to him. After all, his cultivation time was simply too short compared to these old masters, so he was less knowledgeable than them. This great battle was like a display of spells and magic treasures. Wang Lin had absorbed all this information and also learned of the power of Nirvana Cleanser and Nirvana Shatterer cultivators. If this war didn't exist, it would have been very difficult for Wang Lin to learn this. At this moment, just as Black Fiend Devil Saint used a magic treasure to stop the ancient god finger, on the Alliance side, the remaining 10 refined corpses let out roars and charged. The 2 silver corpses moved faster than the rest. However, even with all of them combined, it still wasn't enough to compare to the finger of the ancient god. As the Moongazer serpent charged over, it let out another roar. Its roar was so powerful that it shook the entire space. Those whose cultivation was lacking had to evade, or they would be seriously injured. The roar of the Moongazer serpent was only a roar for others, but when it landed in Wang Lin's ears, it had a completely different meaning. Wang Lin's expression changed and his hands moved without hesitation to place down countless restrictions before him. The ancient god furnace appeared around him and he quickly retreated. The instant he retreated, the Moongazer serpent's roar caused the ancient god finger that Black Fiend Devil Saint and the refined corpses were dealing with to explode. Boom! It was impossible to explain the explosion of the ancient god finger. Everything within 5,000 kilometers of it seemed to have been directly torn open. Screams came from a large amount of cultivators as they were directly sucked into the crack and disappeared without a trace. Countless cultivators panicked and retreated in terror. They only hated themselves for being too slow. The Moongazer serpent was the only one who wasn't damaged at all. It charged forward, and its tentacles swept out to start a massacre. As for Black Fiend Devil Saint, who was at the center of the explosion, he coughed out large amounts of blood and was thrown back. He had never been in such a sorry state in his tens of thousands of years of cultivation. His body was seriously damaged and was on the verge of collapse. The current him was filled with shock. During his life of cultivation, he had never encountered such a powerful beast. After coughing out blood, he escaped frantically, as if he was out of his wits. As for the dozen refined corpses, aside from the silver corpses, the rest weren't able to resist the ancient god finger at all. They had burst into a piles of flesh and blood while being sucked into the void. Even the two silver corpses were knocked back, and the chains on their bodies collapsed as they coughed out black blood. The beautiful female corpse actually charged directly at Wang Lin. This kind of treasure is something that should belong to me. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked not only at the female corpse but also at the half-broken wood carving. Wang Lin was the first to become aware of this situation, so he was fully prepared. A moment before the ancient god finger exploded, he had already retreated and activated the ancient god furnace. As a result, he wasn't affected much. He looked at the Moongazer serpent and then at the female corpse thrown at him. The moment he first saw the refined corpse, he had the idea of stealing it. When the ancient god finger exploded, he purposely adjusted his direction just for this silver corpse. Of the two silver corpses, the male corpse was too seriously damaged, so Wang Lin abandoned it. Although this female corpse was also damaged, it was obviously in much better condition than the male corpse. Since I'm participating in a war, no one will say anything if I take a treasure, much less when the battlefield is this chaotic. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he took advantage of the chaos caused by the explosion of the ancient god finger to charge at the female corpse. However, Wang Lin wasn't the only person who had decided to fish in troubled waters. There were several more who took interest in the female corpse. There were all Heaven and Alliance cultivators among them. 7 different people charged at the female corpse from different directions. Wang Lin wasn't the closest one, but he was the fastest. As he charged, coldness flashed in his eyes. He only needed a few breaths to reach the female corpse, but his eyes lit up and he calmly slowed down. The moment he slowed down, an all-heaven cultivator charged out, closed in on the female corpse, and reached out. At the same time, an alliance cultivators also stepped out but didn't take the female corpse. Instead, he opened his mouth and spat out a ray of sword energy directly at the all-heaven cultivator. The two of them began a battle at close range. It sounds like a lot, but it all happened very quickly, and as the two battled, another cultivator took advantage of this to close in. He grabbed the woman's arm and was about to leave. However, just at this moment, this cultivator suddenly turned around and panic filled his eyes. He screamed as his body shrank until it was a pool of blood. This shocking change shocked the two cultivators that were battling. They looked at the female corpse and no longer dared to grab it. After a moment of hesitation, 3 people, including Wang Lin, sped up and charged ahead. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the ancient god furnace appeared around him. In an instant, he switched places with one of the all-heaven cultivator that had charged ahead. That all-heaven cultivator was startled when he felt a powerful force pulling him. When he regained his vision, he found he had switched places with Wang Lin. He knew Wang Lin's identity, so after letting out a wry smile, he gave up on this treasure and charged for the next one. After using the spell, Wang Lin closed in on the female corpse. The two cultivators who were closest to the female corpse saw everyone else closing in. They clenched their teeth and grabbed the female corpse almost at the exact same moment. However, just at this moment, the two of them screamed and their bodies rapidly withered until they became pools of blood that were absorbed by the female corpse. The blood condensed into a speck of red light between her eyebrows. One of the Alliance cultivators closed in. He wore a python robe and his right hand reached out as he laughed. Although it looked like he was reaching for the woman, in truth, his hand contained a spell, and it looked more like he was going to attack her. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He arrived almost at the same time as this Alliance cultivator. His two fingers formed a sword and he thrusted them out as he shouted, "Move aside!" The Alliance cultivator chuckled. Not only did he not stop, he moved even faster and whispered, "So even Thunder Celestial Shu Mu covets this female corpse's beauty." There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. Just as the Alliance cultivator closed in on the female corpse, Wang Lin pointed with his right hand and softly said, "Stop." The Alliance cultivator trembled. It was as if he had been surrounded by countless invisible threads and became motionless. Wang Lin didn't pause at all. In a flash, he reached for the female corpse. Wang Lin's reach was very clever. He didn't try to grab her from the start. The moment his hand got close, his origin energy along with the ancient god power and the yin and yang fishes were imprinted between her eyebrows. There was a bang and her body trembled. The red light that formed after absorbing several cultivators suddenly dissipated. Then Wang Lin didn't stop. He directly grabbed the female corpse and passed by the Alliance cultivator. When he passed by, he kicked the Alliance cultivator in the chest without any hesitation. There was a flash of white light and the cultivator was pushed back. His face turned pale and he coughed out a large mouthful of blood, but he didn't die. Instead, he looked viciously at Wang Lin and retreated while covering his chest. Holding the female corpse, Wang Lin looked down at it. The female corpse was surrounded by a red light that was slowly gathering toward her face. The reason Wang Lin slowed down was because he noticed something was wrong. What happened after was just as he expected. Several cultivators died. If the female corpse was only this strange, Wang Lin would have given it up. After all, this was a war, and self-preservation still came first. However, after the female corpse absorbed 3 cultivators' blood essence, there were some changes. This was what made him continue to fight for it. As he backed up, his left hand formed a seal and he placed countless restrictions on the female corpse along with a mouthful of essence origin energy. After putting her inside his bag, he charged off into the collapsing space. The collapse had formed a giant vortex that formed a powerful suction that wanted to devour everything. Only the Moongazer serpent could ignore this suction as he slaughtered like crazy. At this moment, several old monsters in the Alliance surrounded the Moongazer serpent to prevent it from advancing. Even the Cloud Dragon Demon Saint closed in on the Moongazer serpent. However, Blood God and company also circled the Moongazer and battled the Alliance cultivators. The Blood People that had appeared one by one also launched an overwhelming offensive against the Alliance. Waves of rumbles echoed along with the roar of the Moongazer serpent. The fight between Master Flamespark and Wu Do-chan was shaking the world. The rumbles inside the black mist caused by their fighting was extremely intense. The fluctuations that would occasionally come from their clashes was something even Blood God and company had to avoid. In the distance, the woman in the blue dress had no panic on her face as she observed all of this. Beside her, the golden corpse quietly stood there with a cold expression. The 5 yellow talismans slowly rotated around its head. Lightning moved between the talismans, constantly keeping it sealed. The woman in the blue dress raised her right hand and softly said, "I invite Xian Palace's big elder, esteemed Xian Bao." A laugh echoed across the stars. There wasn't much cultivation in this laugh, but all the treasures trembled for a moment as if they were about to leave their masters. The escaping Black Fiend Devil Saint let out a sigh of relief. Not only him, even Cloud Dragon Demon Saint relaxed. He simply gave up fighting and quickly retreated. The two of them knew very well that the so-called 4 saints wasn't just them. Among them, only Ji Xiantian was a real saint. The Alliance's 4 saints were divided into Moon, Cloud, Xian, and Yao. Ji Xiantian was the Xian saint. Each of them had 3 subordinates, so no matter how you combined it, it would form 4 saints. In truth, for this battle, the Cultivation Alliance had only dispatched the Xian saint and his 3 subordinates. Esteemed Xian Bao had a very high status in the Xian Palace. What really made people in the Alliance respect and fear him was that he was one of the Alliance elders who could decide everything inside the Alliance. This was his more prominent identity. Aside from the people inside the Alliance elder group, no one else knew exactly how many were within this group. However, each of them was extremely powerful and could reverse the heavens. The reason Allseer was respected and the Cultivation Alliance had even sent someone to bear gifts during his birthday was because he was a member of this mysterious elder group. However, there were some matters that caused his status to fall, but nevertheless, he was still a member. If it wasn't for the fact that Allseer was low-key, people like Ling Qianhu wouldn't be able to exist at all. As long as he wished it, he could make them all disappear in an instant. However, after a certain incident, he became even more low-key and rarely participated in any elder meetings. He shut himself out. It has to be said that not even Ji Xianqian or Wu Dochan, who was battling Master Flame's Park, were eligible to become elders. Before esteemed Xian Bao, these two were nothing. No one knew what level of cultivation was required for one to become a member of the elder group. Some even suspected that although cultivation was related, that wasn't the only thing. The elder group held the highest level of power and secrets within the Alliance. Its members were the real rulers of the Alliance. Esteemed Xian Bao wore white and he was slightly thin, but these gave him the air of a celestial. His eyes were bright and seemed to be filled with endless depth. If someone looked into his eyes, they could easily be immersed and might end up unable to pull themselves out for a long time. He had the appearance of a true elder. There was also a whisk in his hand as he appeared next to the woman in the blue dress. The woman in the blue dress softly said, "Junior greets Uncle Master." Esteemed Xian Bao looked at the battlefield in the distance and laughed. "Little girl, your master let you preside over this battle and had everyone listen to you. He even deliberately chose this place for the battlefield. This kind of fortune is not something that happens often." As he smiled, esteemed Xian Bao didn't seem to care about the battle at all. Only when he saw the Moongazer serpent did his pupils shrink. He revealed a meaningful smile. This video will end here.